Good morning, and hey now, PSAW staff, clients, and friends joining us. Welcome to Tuesday's class. Hope you enjoyed yesterday's film scoring challenge with Ben-Hur. I think we're going to have a lot of fun with that. I'm very excited to see what you guys come up with. And just make sure to get those in by tomorrow by midnight, so Thursday morning, and we'll post the results and the our PSAW film composers that I would love more participants, like I said. So feel free to just send in any kind of music. You don't have to be trained in any way. You can just see the scene, and if something comes to you, send it to me, and we'll put it together. Okay. So having said that, let's go to let's do our LA segment class. And the reason why we do these, I feel it's important, is that we should be aware of the environment that we're in as artists. We are influenced by our surroundings, whether we like it or not. So whether we know it or not, when we work with our craft, with music or dance or acting, and we practice and we work, then we are entrenched in this city. And LA has so much culture and so many beautiful buildings and so many wonderful things about it that it's our art reflects that, and it's vice versa. So I think it's good for us to uncover more gems that this city has to offer. So not workout gyms, gems. So so let's start with today's class, and we're going to look at a very famous, maybe one of the most famous places in the world, the second most Instagrammed spot on Earth. Second most, Dodger Stadium. Dodger Stadium is the largest stadium in baseball, and it holds 56,000 fans, and it's one of the largest, most popular examples of mid-century modernism. It has its own zip code, 90090. So there's some cool facts about it, and we'll also talk about a musical component, an element to this class, but you'll have to wait. That'll be a little bit later. So first, let's get into the history of the beautiful Dodger Stadium. So most of us know that the Dodgers originated in Brooklyn, right? So in 1958, there was, I don't know, but there was some political dealings with the owner and New York State, with the owner Walter O'Malley, and he was trying to negotiate. So it didn't work out. So he decided in the end of '58, in the middle of '58, to take the team to Los Angeles. Los Angeles was, pretty well established as a metropolis city for sure. The area that they were attracted to at first was an area that's still called Chavez Ravine. And Chavez Ravine was mostly, probably all composed of Mexican Americans. And it's not the best story, but it's a story that probably most people know, and it's probably, you could imagine what's probably going to happen. But Chavez Ravine was named after Julian Chavez, and he was a rancher and assistant mayor and a city councilman. And in 1844, he started buying up land, and he bought up this beautiful chunk of land with these hills. And Chavez Ravine was a real tight-knit community, and it's a very rare example of like a small-town community, small-town life in this large urban metropolis where downtown's only a few miles away. But this little community, for decades, it had its own schools and churches, and people would grow food on their own land. So it was completely self-sufficient in that way. Of course, other people saw this as a slum, and, we won't get into the racial and political under and overtones and all those things. But so around 50, in the mid-50s, they want to make it into these, this great massive public housing project, and they want to call it Elysian Park Heights. Well, that doesn't, and they promise the residents that they can return to the housing once they finish building these things. Well, they never got built, and on May 9th, 1959, bulldozers and sheriffs arrived, and they started just kicking these people out of their homes, and sometimes using force with them because they refuse to give up their land. So not to get too morose, but yeah, it's very. I mean, I guess it's like at least they didn't kill them, right? I mean, probably in the old days they would just get out of my way and we'll kill you. So I guess that's a good thing, but it's still very sad. And speaking of 1959, for some reason this year has come up a lot, right, for us. If you remember, 1959 is when Ben-Hur came out. And also, what else came out? The most famous jazz album, Kind of Blue, comes out in 1959. So when you think of it kind of globally, Italy, they're shooting Ben-Hur in Italy, comes out in 1959, probably the biggest movie in the world up to that point. Kind of Blue, the most influential jazz record, comes out in 59 in New York City. They record it. And then now, 1959 in LA, the biggest, largest stadiums being built. So just to put things in kind of perspective of what we've been learning about these last few weeks and months, kind of interesting. But so the residents called that Black Friday because that's when it was such an unfortunate, they lost their neighborhood. And so 1962, Dodger Stadium opens up, and April 10th, 1962, they have their opening game. So let's move away from LA and let's go to New York for a second. And we're going to go back a few decades before Dodger Stadium. We're going to talk about a song that was written, and it's probably one of the most famous songs in the world. I think it is the third most famous, behind Star Spangled Banner and Happy Birthday. But it's the third most famous song, and that's Take Me Out to the Ball Game.
Take me out to the ball game. Take me out with the crowd.
Take Me Out to the Ball Game was written in 1908 in New York by these two guys that had never been to a baseball game. And it wouldn't be used until 1934 at a real baseball game. So for decades, it was just kind of like, it was laying around. And the story is this guy, Jack Norworth, wrote the lyrics. And he was riding the subway, and he saw this thing that said Baseball Today, Polo Grounds. And he got inspired, and in 15 minutes wrote the lyrics, brought it back to his partner, Albert von Tilzer, and he wrote the music. And very quickly they became the official anthem of North American baseball. And we talked about the Tin Pan Alley style, and that's New York, early 20th century, early Broadway music, where you would go in and buy sheet music or sell sheet music, and there would be songs. So we talked about George M. Cohan 2 weeks ago, who did Yankee Doodle Dandy. That's early Tin Pan Alley music. We talked about George Gershwin. So a lot of composers, Irving Berlin, a lot of composers were Tin Pan Alley composers and songwriters, composers, because they were songs. The Tin Pan Alley they were songs. Somehow, from 1908, if we go back and go forward to 1934, Take Me Out to the Ball Game becomes this anthem. I have no idea how. 1934, they sing it at this baseball game in Los Angeles. So Los Angeles, LA is the place that this originates. The song originates from, and somehow it got picked up to be this huge song, and then in that same year, 1934, they use it at the World Series game between the St. Louis Cardinals and Detroit Tigers. So again, it's another example of our city getting something started. But it really wasn't a regular occurrence until 1971 when, Harry Carey, the famous announcer, started singing it during the games, and he kind of got it really into this thing where it became this seventh inning stretch. And when you think of it, seventh inning stretch, and when you think of it's really odd in a way that you're with 50,000 people. There's this entertaining, sports game going on, and then you say, wait, hold on a second, stop the game and everything. We're all going to stand up. We're all going to sing. I mean, it's so old-fashioned. I mean, when you think of it, it's ridiculous. Like, why would that even? That's a waste of time. And there's something beautiful about it. I love that happens, and I do love the song. When I was singing it in my head, I was like, it really is a very nice song. But I kind of thought, well, this is like a great example of like an unintentional, spontaneous part of where we all become this choir unexpectedly. All of a sudden, everybody is singing along to this song. You have that in churches, of course, and Star Spangled Banner before concerts sometimes, but really, I don't know. In the middle, when it's involving something secular, I can't think of any other event where you would start singing, and it's very, it's it's beautiful. I think it's a really cool thing. I mean, and it started out as this kind of obscure Tin Pan Alley vaudeville tune, but it really became this very charming part of the fabric of America and the Americana. I mean, it's like really, I don't know. I can't figure it out. So that's the history of Dodger Stadium, a brief history, and of the song "Take Me Out to the Ball Game." I guess we won't be going to any ball games right now, but I do think they will be playing them, and we can see them on TV. But obviously, we know that Dodger Stadium has hosted many concerts too. Although I was surprised since when it opened in '62 to now 2020. They've only had 95 concerts, which to me it sounds low, but many of the top people in the world. I mean, the Beatles were the first band to do a huge concert that wasn't a sporting event, and that was a very famous time when they performed there, of course. But bands like The Cure, Kiss, the Rolling Stones, Bee Gees, Elton John, Simon and Garfunkel, Michael Jackson, the Eagles, Earth, Wind and Fire. There's too many. I mean, there's way more than that. I'm not going to name 95, but you get the idea that it's a huge place to celebrate and for music to take part outdoors in this city. And we're very lucky too that the stadium, we don't even need a roof here because the weather is so beautiful all the time, and there's been very few rainy days where they haven't been able to play, like in the history, not even rainy days a year, like in the history of the park being open. So it's just gorgeous, and we're very lucky that it's right there, very close to downtown, yet in this, on this hill, and just beautiful things happening there. So, okay. Hope you enjoyed it. I've said it all. Yes, of course. We always say it all. Have something very nice planned for you tomorrow. So thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed it. And get those get that film scoring assignment to me, and with peace and love, of course. But if you want to send me music, okay. Have a great rest of the day. I'll see you tomorrow.